The only man happens to be my husband. I told him he needs to get on the call, so here he's coming. But I'm going to, if you want to go, yes, Amy, thank you. Amy Fowler, you're awesome. So I'm going to, I'll do the chat. What am I saying? The text. I will save the text. So whatever, or save the chat. So if you want to put your contact information, then what I do is I typically send the saved chat text, whatever, to you. So as a follow-up from this, as long as you put your email in there, which I think I should have everybody, if you're a member of our group, obviously. My husband's not going to show his face because he's the only man. No, I'm joking. Oh, we've got more. So I'm just like talking. There you are, Philip. That's your thing is blurry. You look like you're in a horror movie or something. What are you doing?
It was this last time when I got on someone else's meeting. It was the same thing. I don't know if it's the computer or what.
He really doesn't look like that, guys. I promise you.
I don't know.
So this is my husband, Michelle. This is
Hi, nice to meat you.
You as well.
Thank you.
I don't know what's wrong with your camera. That's kind of creepy, man.
Smudged.
And Laura, I saw that you signed up, and I don't know you, Laura, but thank you, Lauren, not Laura. Lauren, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah,
There.
so I saw the event on Facebook. You know Ann White, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm so I'm the niece of a friend of hers.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Glad to meet glad to see everybody. And I know we might have a few more. So Michelle, I'll leave it up to you as to whether when you want to start. If you want to give it another minute or two, I'm sure we'll still have some that'll jump on.
Yeah, we can give it, we're at 4:03 right now, so we can give it another minute, maybe.
Yep, it's up to you. The other thing I would say is, if you didn't hear me, if you are comfortable and you're okay, feel free to put your email and your name in the chat, and I will be saving that for, I'll save it and we'll send it along with a follow-up and for this. But if you don't give me your email, I think I actually have the majority. If you signed up through the regular link, I probably haven't. If I sent you a separate link, which I did a couple cases, I don't know why it wouldn't work, Christy. I just don't know. But if I did that, but everybody on here, I know your email, so that's good. But still, then you can share with each other. And today is all about Michelle. So this is a good way for you to share it, and we'll get that networking thing going after this. So
I think it's all about you all. So yeah. It is. Yes, for sure.
We have another person who's getting admitted, but I have no idea. It's a phone number, so it'll be a surprise to all of us. Hopefully it's not a stalker or a flasher, Michelle. If it is, I'm sorry. I totally apologize.
It's Lisa.
Lisa, yay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're glad you're here. Okay.
Thank you for verifying who it is. I would have hesitated just to speak to, yeah.
We are recording this, so.
Oh, good.
So don't say anything, right?
Yeah, don't say anything that you'll be sorry later. I don't know, we probably have about 3 or 4 more people. And I did send it out, and there's probably still more, but if they come on late, I'll let them in. Whenever you want to start, Michelle, feel free to do that.
Okay. I am going to share my screen. Okay, there we go. I'm going to move you guys over. Okay, so hi, good afternoon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk for probably about 30 minutes. give or take a few minutes, and then I want to open it up for questions. Jennifer and I have spent some time together chatting and, going over, I know a little bit about, TTR and all the networking, and I'm going to really talk about connection in my talk a little bit today. But as most of you know, or all of you know, I am recently, which is really hard to believe, an author of the book called Found. It was released October 6th as an ebook, but the big book launch isn't until February 9th. So it was a 10-year blood, sweat, and tears put into this book. So, and a little bit of, couple years off of really looking at it or doing anything with it here and there. So I just feel very blessed to have the opportunity to get my voice out there when sometimes others are voiceless. So I hope that this will help them with their voice as well. So there's kind of the cover of my book. So I'm going to just share some of my story with you. It's not going to be the whole entire thing. If you're interested, please don't feel pressured, but you can find my book and read it ebook on Barnes and Noble, Amazon. There's like 1,800 different venues where you can purchase the book if you would like. So the very first thing I always open up with in my presentations is no human interaction is neutral. It's either healing or it's wounding. And I feel like this is kind of one of my mottos in life. I heard this this quote years and years ago before I started presenting, and it just really was profound to me. Profound in the way that we treat each other. And others who may be struggling and we don't even know it, because we all have a story, right? I think we all walk around with a story, and what our backgrounds are like, what our growing up is like, whatever that is, and how our words can be really wounding to each other. And if we don't necessarily, I always put it in this context. If somebody, you're going through the drive-through, let's say at Chick-fil-A, because that's my favorite drive-through, and they're always very pleasant. But let's say somebody wasn't very pleasant to you. What is your reaction going to be? Is it going to be negative or it's going to be positive? Because being positive could change their day. And we have that in the palm of our hands to be able to change somebody's day. And this goes along with my story because of some of the ways, some of the different days and ways that I was treated going through the trauma that I went through. So now I'd like to introduce you to me. I look a little different, probably a lot younger, but this is definitely me back when and not me now, but I'd like to introduce you to Michelle Meyer. This was me the year of my assault. So you can see I had a red shirt on and bright red lipstick and my hair was full. And let me tell you just a little bit about Michelle Meyer. Working a construction job, construction manager, just helping really build projects from ground on up. And I was working at the Y. I was in charge of all of the exercise programs. That was my part-time gig. I'm a runner. I love to run. I was dating a guy had started dating him about a year. We built a friendship and just started really becoming closer. On this day, September 12th, that I'm going to share with you, I was out on a project in Michigan. And at the time I lived in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I was in Michigan on this day and I was coming home late from work. It was about 9:30 at night. I dropped my coworkers off and proceeded to go home. And as I drove down my street, I saw two guys walking down my street. I'm getting a little feedback, so I don't know if somebody has, there we go. I think that's better. Thank you. But I saw two guys walking down my street and they were walking down the middle of the street. And I was trying to drive down and it just seemed a little odd to me. So my gut said, don't pull up to my front door. So I didn't. So I went all the way around the block and took my time. And as I came back around, they were gone. And so I parked my car. I grabbed my things out of my car and I walked up to my front door. And boom, the next thing you know, I was on the ground. I had hit the ground and I didn't have any idea what was happening. but realized that I was hit over the head because I lifted my head to feel the warmth of the blood running down my face. And this voice that came at me that said, if you scream, I'll use this, as he shoved a gun to my face. So, there's absolutely no feeling word I can come across to tell you what that feeling felt like, but I can tell you what I knew. I knew I was going to die. And I begged for my life. I begged him to just leave me alone. I wouldn't tell anybody, take my car, take everything. I promise I won't tell anybody. But instead, he lifted me up off the ground and shoved the gun to my back and dragged me to my backyard and told me not to look at him. So I was going to do everything that he asked me to do. And as we approached the backyard, I saw 4 other feet on the ground, and both of the 2 other people had handguns, and they conversed about what they were going to do that night as they shoved me down to the ground. And I tried to stay cognizant and beg for my life again, which I did. And they ended up driving my car down the alleyway, dragging me across my backyard and throwing me into the trunk of my car. And prior to that, they tied my hands behind my back, blindfolded, and gagged me, and then threw me in the trunk of my car. And in the trunk of my car is where I tried desperately to get free. I got my hands untied, and every time they hit the brake, the light came on in the trunk of the car. And that's where I took an advantage to try and search for a way out. And in not finding a way, I'm a very faithful person. So I prayed to God that he would save my life so I could tell my mom. I thought about my mom, that I could tell her I loved her, one more time. And, the reality really hit me of what was going to happen and what I knew was going to happen. And I knew I wasn't going to live through it. So, and that is when the trunk opened, and they dragged me out of my trunk and were very angry that I got my hands free. So with much force, tied my hands behind my back and re-blindfolded and gagged me and dragged me down an alleyway. And one thing that I didn't do before my talk is, it gets a little graphic, and there's no other way without telling my story, without putting that in, because we put so much shame and we don't talk about it. But I want you to know that take care of yourself. If you've experienced any kind of trauma, if you need to get out, or sign off or whatever, to walk out of the room, please take care of yourself. If this is triggering in any kind of way. I'm sorry, I didn't say that before. However, they proceeded to take me into this very closed in area, and it was a garage, and they ripped my clothes off, and they took turns beating and raping me in every which way they could figure out. So I introduce you to Michelle Meyer because I lost my life that night in that garage. I will never know who Michelle Meyer would have been. It was, the only way to describe it is an out-of-body experience in order to have saved my life. The pain and the grief of going through that was, indescribable. So when they were finished, they then dragged me out of the garage and dragged me back down the alleyway and threw me into the trunk of my car. And that's where I went unconscious. I have no idea what time lapsed. I just remember coming to hear this voice. And this time the voice was different. And this voice, all I kept thinking was, this is somebody that they added to their group, and this is all going to happen all over again. So I took a chance, and I kicked on the trunk of my car, and this voice came back me that said, I am Detective Arthur Billingsley of the Fort Wayne Police Department, and I'm going to get you out. So I don't know if you've ever had a nightmare where you really thought that it was real. I know I had one prior to this where I really believed that it was happening. So I thought I was having a nightmare, and all of a sudden this dream was creeping in on this nightmare. And I think Detective Billingsley was probably much more shocked than I was to know that there was somebody in the trunk of this car that he came about. He happened to be on a child investigation case that night, and got home late, and he was a single detective. Every time he got off work, he would normally go drive around and check on people. And this night he he didn't want to do that. He was just too exhausted from work. So he was getting out of his car and he felt this nudge. And it was finally on the third nudge that he got back into his car, and he could have turned right or turned left, and he turned right. And that's how he stumbled upon me in the trunk of my car in a wooded lot out back of a restaurant where these guys were going to rob. So Detective Billingsley, once the trunk opened, I say at first it was like another indescribable feeling that here my life is saved, but yet the trunk was open, and that's when the nightmare really began for me. So I just wanted to share with you some immediate reactions, because I was in shock. I was in, that's when I really started to shake and cry and come to some kind of realization this really did happen. It was starting to, the feelings were starting to take over, and some of my immediate reactions, fear was just gripping me, knowing that these guys were still out there, and Detective Billingsley was able to handcuff one of those guys that night. And I was in pure denial. I didn't want to talk to anybody, didn't want anybody to know anything about this. And there seemed like 1,000 different first responders there when I got out of the trunk. And you can imagine what I looked like. But all of these, reactions started settling in and sinking in. And, there was so much confusion, and I couldn't hear anything that was going on. All I wanted to do was go home and take a shower. And, so it was very difficult on those first responders as well, dealing with the shock of what I was going through. So one of my immediate reactions I put in here as confusion, and I'm going to share a couple of crime scene photos with you, because as we're dealing with people and connecting with people and building relationships with people, again, we don't know what their story is. And we like to sometimes put in context a different sort of story, or we like to immediately portray our judgment on them. Trust me, I'm still guilty of it, and I'm working on it every single day. But I know this is a networking, so I just wanted to kind of share that with you. So I'm going to share a couple of crime scene photos, and one gets a little bit graphic, but so confusion set in. I had shared my story. Of course, they were asking me, I had detectives when I got to the hospital asking me all kinds of questions, and I couldn't answer them. I couldn't put in context the series of events in context of how they happened. And years later, when I got the crime scene photos, and the detectives, police still don't know the true story, because I wasn't able to answer some of their questions. And, some of it was quite embarrassing for me. But so years later, I got the crime scene photos, and it was because my personality, I had to put closure on things. So now I'm able to use them in presentations, which I began speaking out years later. But I began to look at these crime scene photos, and I saw the front door open. And I thought, well, they must have removed all the tape, and they moved things around, because I didn't see my bags outside of the door. And then I go to the next photo, and I see my bags inside, and I thought, oh, they must have moved them inside. But they don't tamper with crime scene photos, right? So then I go to the next scene, and I was actually knocked down inside my house. And I didn't even remember getting the key in the door. So as I like to talk about this a little bit because of perception, and in talking to others, or, connecting with others. even family members, friends. But when society's expectations regarding the attack or anything that happens are not met, the victim's behavior is often, or the person's behavior is often re-examined to fit another scenario that we believe makes more sense. How many times can I tell you, I think, oh, that really didn't happen, or that really didn't happen, or I want to put this in a different scenario so that my fear is what do I want to say? My fear is protected, you know, that I don't, like, let's say you're watching this. I usually show a vignette of the news segment of it talking about this, this attack on me. And I'm going to share with you what happened to these 3 guys, but they want to feel safe in their home. So they start checking off the list as they start hearing about what happened that night. Okay, I don't live in that neighborhood. Okay, she was out late. Okay, even to what I was wearing, or, you know, you can check off the boxes and think, okay, well, that happened to her because she did something wrong, right? So we start, you know, refitting it into a scenario that makes us feel better about ourselves. So it's just something to be cognizant about when meeting and talking to other people. So who I became somebody I really didn't like. I looked in the mirror. I didn't like who I saw. I didn't like my actions, my responses. I walked around fearful and angry and sad and in denial. And my 3 best friends were anger, denial, and fear. For 9 months, sheer terror struck me. I could not be alone for 5 seconds. Going to the bathroom, I had to have somebody standing outside the door. And I'm not kidding you. It was really, really, really bad. It changed my whole entire life. That's why I say I lost my life that night in that garage. I was different, and I fought to get my life back. I fought every day. I'd get up and I'm going to be who I was. I'm going to be who I was. And it wasn't until I realized that I had to go through the feelings and, you know, all of who I became in order to get to the other side, even though I tried dodging it and going around and under and around, you know, over it. I actually had to grieve that and go through, you know, all of who I became. So, you know, I don't need to go over all of these, but it was, and, you know, if you've been through something and you relate to some of these feelings, you feel like you're going crazy, and it is exhausting because all of these feelings and emotions could all come at once. So I want to read a part of my book for you, just to give you a little teaser, just a little vignette out of it. I tried to appear strong whenever I was around people, but in my heart, mind, and soul, a perfect storm was brewing. Every activity, behavior, attitude, or habit that was comfortable before the attack became a trigger. Even the personality traits that had defined me, trust, independent, fearlessness, and innocence, were altered. I felt unrecognizable in every way, and I didn't know where or how to find my way forward. So that's where I was. So I talked to you about the, you know, living in fear. The 2 other guys were actually caught or captured within the next couple of days. But the headlines, this attack made the headlines in the newspaper for several months, several years, actually, because it took 3 years to go through the judicial system. So there were actually 5 other women prior to me. So they tagged these guys the trunk rapist. One other female did not want anything to go to court. So there is nothing, you know, no charges for them with what happened to her. But the 4 others there are, and myself. So this was headlines, and it was really hard. I couldn't even read the paper. And one of the headlines actually was about one of the guys that actually hit me over the head, who is serving no time in my case because they supposedly said they couldn't find enough evidence. So, but that's a whole nother presentation on the judicial system. So What did I need? Maybe you have dealt with somebody that you didn't know what to, how to respond to them, because it's a very fine line dealing with trauma, whether it's a loss or, we come through with what do I say? If somebody's lost a loved one or somebody's been through something difficult, it is a very fine line, because no matter sometimes what we say, it can be the best thing in the world, but it can actually be harming to the person receiving it. So, in the last 20 years of doing advocacy, it's hard. It's really hard work, and you mess up a lot on finding the right thing to say. But what I realized, and I didn't realize until years later what I needed, but hopefully this helps others, help others and help others who've been through trauma. But I needed to feel safe. And the main thing that I really needed is I needed to just breathe and feel safe in an environment, which I didn't have that. It was just like everything was moving so fast after my life had been saved. Nothing was calming. Everybody was around me and talking and, trying to, do something for me, and nothing was working, but I just needed to feel safe. I needed information. I needed to be able to express my emotions and make my own decisions. And I needed that affirmation. Somebody to recognize. Nobody in the EMS on the way to the hospital recognized my emotions, only my head trauma. And I didn't care about my head trauma. I could have cared less about my head trauma. So, and as I got to the hospital, I don't know how many staples, but several staples put in my head, but I still didn't feel that trauma, that head trauma. But, I needed to be able to trust, and I needed that respect and the privacy and somebody to really listen. And I want to talk about this, somebody to really listen, be present, and be for real. One of the things that I was tuned into, I don't know about you, but I was tuned into if somebody was present. Like I'm watching Janice right now, and she is really, sorry, Janice, I'm kind of picking on you, but she is really in tune and she is really listening. So if it was just Janice and I recognize that she is my immediate friend, and I'm going to connect with her. It makes a difference when especially when people are going through trauma, that somebody is listening. Right now, with everything going on in the world, it is crazy. But if you can give somebody your undivided attention for a few minutes, they're going to feel it and you're going to know it. And that makes a huge difference. And if you really want to connect with somebody, give them that time. So some of these other things, the one contact person, that's just with law enforcement, but, I needed to take some control back, and the information that's in there, again, a chance to breathe. And as I talked about that connection, I capitalized that. We all need some kind of connection. And that's why the first quote that I gave you makes a difference. And we probably all have those examples, but these are my examples. I was able to take from my trauma to build real relationships, to maybe not spend so much time on the ones that weren't healthy or good for me, that weren't lifting me up, that were more bringing me down. I can recognize that much more. I got the opportunity to learn more about myself from this attack than I ever would have had the opportunity to learn from. I needed to know that hope existed in my vocabulary, in my life, because hope was not in reach for me. So what you're doing and making connections is really, really, really important. And I hope that you find that too. So the question I get asked a lot, and so I go ahead and put this in my presentation, is what happened to these guys? So I'll just bring this up. They were young, and they are serving probably the rest of their lives in prison. The 19-year-old is serving the least amount of time. So I know we're not talking back and forth, but I always ask, why do you think that he's only serving 70 years? And I say only because you look at the time the other two got. He is the one that turned the other two in. They are serving time in different prisons. Otherwise, he would be in big trouble. But you can see, and this isn't just for me, this is for the other 4 females that they attacked as well. My case, the criminal justice, it went to the first one that was attacked, then the second, and I was the last one. So that's why I think the 23-year-old who's serving 320 years is serving no time for my case. So that is what they received. And honestly, we don't see this happening in the criminal justice system. So I feel very blessed, but it's because they are repeated offenders. I wish that we would see this more. So why are you needed? We don't know who's walking around with these kind of stories. We have the opportunity in the palm of our hand with making these connections in our, disconnectedness to them and paying attention and being present, because we can change their lives. We can maybe make it so they're not going to abuse drugs and alcohol or contemplate suicide or suffer from depression or post-traumatic stress disorder. We have the opportunity of changing that for them. I did fortunately not turn to any of these. However, I would have a drink, and that drink, a glass of wine, and that glass of wine would turn into 2 glasses of wine. And because it put a Band-Aid on how I was feeling, and oh my gosh, it made me feel better. But luckily it didn't turn into a problem. But we see this so much with people suffering through life. And we have the opportunity to change somebody's life if we just, pay attention. So now I want to introduce you to, this is kind of the emotional part of my presentation. So excuse me if I get emotional, but I do, because this picture every single time, it doesn't matter how many times I show this, I get tears in my eyes. So I would like to introduce you to Detective Arthur Billingsley. On the right-hand side, he is a hero, and every September 12th, he's a family member, honestly, now. He's become a adopted family member of my family's. My son is on the left. He is named after Detective Arthur Billingsley. His name is Christian Arthur. He calls him Uncle Art. So we are family, and we've do life together. We've done some work together and some speaking opportunities together, but there is in the segment that I usually show, it's a news segment, and Detective Billingsley talks about not being a hero. And you talk about God sent the right person to save my life. Wow. He is the most humble person I've ever met in my whole entire life, and the biggest hero that I will ever have in my whole entire life. So, we are close. We have that bond that is, again, indescribable. Then I would like to introduce you to the rest of my family. Christian, obviously on the left, then me, and the guy that I was dating, I would like to introduce you to him, Chris. He's the one that bared the anger, and I pushed him away so much, and he stayed strong, and he stayed with me because he loved me. And I'm thankful every day that he did, but it got ugly, and it wasn't pretty. And I don't know why he stayed, but he did, because he loved me. And then our daughter on the right, Olivia, and then our dog Prancer. So I say that it doesn't get any better than this. And I actually took a picture of this sign because I have it hanging 2 places in my house, in my bedroom, in my bathroom when I get up in the morning and get ready. And then as I leave every day, it's on my way out. I have this sign hanging that it doesn't get any better than this, and it doesn't. It didn't come without a price. It was very, very hard and difficult. And I write about this in the book. And I wrote my book because I want people to know what is possible when they're going through so much in life, that it is possible and it's doable, and you can get through it. It's tough, but it's doable. And I know it's dark, and I know it's hard. And so I want to tell you this too, that somebody may not name their child after you, but they're going to remember what you did for them for the rest of their life, even if it's one engagement that you have with them. The difference you can make is profound in our words and in our actions and paying attention and being present. Since I'm talking a little bit about my book, I wanted to take an opportunity, and this is only the second time that I've shared this with any group, is to tell you what chapters are significant for my kids. They have spoken, I speak nationally, and they have spoken with me. They've come, and my husband. But when I asked them what chapters were significant to them, Christian said chapter 14, and it's the 4th of July. And because he said it shows what kind of relationship is possible after a tragedy, and to realize that you can have a great life and that dreams do come true if you work at them. He says it gives him hope to have this kind of love. So that is, I don't really want to give it away, but I will tell you it's a love story, that chapter. And it's about Chris and I coming together. And then Olivia, our daughter's favorite chapter, is chapter 5, Rescued. She said, because of the first contact that I had with Detective Arthur Billingsley, and the meaning behind that, and how the book really describes that it just stuck with her. And it said, I remember making eye contact with her and my heart just sank. This is Detective Billingsley. My mind was in total shock. And then I said, I locked eyes with him. I felt a much needed rush of hope. The things that go wrong. Okay, so never mind about that. But so that was my daughter's favorite part. And I thought those two things were so telling. What she said when we spoke in Kansas City to 14,000 military people in the Army, she actually, in speaking to them, answered a question about me. But she said, you know, if this wouldn't have happened to my mom wouldn't be who she is today. She goes, I didn't want this to happen to my mom, but she wouldn't be who she is today. So I think that's why she picked that to be her favorite chapter. And this is a quote that I love that I put in the book. And I just want to read it to you. I'm not interested in whether you've stood with the great. I am interested in whether you've sat with the broken. For the last 20 years, I have been blessed to serve in ministries. And I wanted to share what I'm doing today. I'm working at the O'Connor House as the executive director. If you haven't heard of the O'Connor House, it's a home for women who are homeless and pregnant, who have lived through, obviously they're in that situation, they've lived through trauma and being homeless. So we're all about saving lives and mentoring and loving on people as much as we can. And I'll just tell you a little bit about it, but we're a Christian home that is for women, as I said, that are single, homeless, and pregnant. We love the opportunity to help them improve their lives and the lives of their children. So we're not a homeless shelter, but rather we're a program that requires women to work, save money, and participate in a variety of educational programs. So we offer all of that to them in hopes to provide hope for them. We can house up to 8 women, plus their baby and any additional children under the age of 5. We've been in existence since 2005, and we have served over 430 mothers and children. So we are very proud. I would love to know if anybody has heard of the O'Connor House. So I think you can put in that little chat room. And then I'm going to open it up here in just a couple of minutes for questions. Here's my book information. I actually had the opportunity to do a small book signing. I was able to get some books ahead of time, which was a blessing. And so I had a very small book signing in a beautiful boutique called AH Collections last night at Clay Terrace. Thank you so much. Some of you joined me last night, so that was super nice. But you can get the book currently an ebook on 18 different venues if you just Google it. And then I also have a website So here's some of my contact information. The first contact is my Michelle Corrao. I do have a website. So if you want to go look at that or share that with anybody who's experiencing trauma, maybe that'll help, or if they want to reach out to me. And then there's also the O'Connor House information. So that is it. That's the short version of me. So I'm don't know if you want to, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that we can open it up for questions.
Yes. And I would just say thank you, Michelle. I don't think you actually tooted your horn well enough or loud enough, because I read here and I kept trying to tell people about this and I should have had it right by me, but you're the recipient of the Special Courage Award presented by the U.S. Attorney General in 2010. And you became the first ever recipient of the Distinguished Hoosier Award presented by the Indiana Attorney General. And you also said and you created, or you helped lead the charge to create the Central Indiana's first sexual assault response team, SART, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was saying hi to Ann because I just saw Ann White on.
Isn't that cool?
She's my lovely friend who owns AH Collections, who opened up her doors last night to me.
Yes. And so I just we are in the presence of pretty much awesomeness right here, people. So the fact that you're all on the call, you're all awesome. But Michelle, can you want to share anything more about those awards or No? She doesn't want to share anything more, guys. Okay.
No, it was a blessing. And I really, it was a blessing to be able to pay it forward to all those victims of crime and abuse. And that's why I do what I do. Honestly, it's for them. I know how it feels and what it's like. And, the kudos are great, but I'll tell you what makes the most difference to me is when I get that call or that email from somebody who just needs a little affirmation, because it's affirmation back for me. Okay, thank you for helping me to realize I really wasn't going crazy in this abnormal situation. And that makes all the difference in the world to me. It's the first speaking engagement where there's 200 people lined up to talk to me that have never shared their story and that, open their hearts. And because that's also healing for me. That we can just share that and maybe it helps a little bit and provides some hope. So that's why I do what I do. I see I have to open this up. I'm not very good. This is the first time that I'm going to see if there's any questions in here that I can answer. So I think I probably better stop. So help me out, Jennifer, too, if you see any.
Or if anybody does have a question, can they just
yes, if you guys just want to unmute yourself, I would rather like that.
I'm not sure there were any questions here, except that just saying how awesome you are, which like we're all saying, we know you are.
And yes, Anne, you can volunteer at the O'Connor House. I would love that. We're right by, do you go to Our Lady of Mount Carmel? No, St. Elizabeth Seton.
Lady, I'm at Seton, but
yes.
I would love to help. That.
Yeah. Yes. Awesome. Thank you.
I love you. I'm so proud of you.
I love you too. It's good to see you.
You too, baby.
Isn't that nice?
Thanks so much for sharing. I've not heard of the O'Connor House previously, but I'm interested in finding out more. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. AH's gorgeous boutique in Carmel. Yes. And we might do another book signing. So stay tuned. I'm trying to get more books.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, right? And we're going to try that.
Yay.
So thank you for all your comments here.
Michelle, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Did you have immediate access to counseling? Were you directed to be counseled after this all happened? And did you recognize that was part of your healing process?
Yes. Thanks, Dawn, for asking. I'm so glad you asked that, because usually I put a slide in my presentation that said what helped. And ultimately it was my faith. And yes, absolutely. God put this amazing therapist in my life that really didn't specialize in it. She was my therapist previously for some other like self-esteem issues. And I am so glad, but she walked the walk with me, and I couldn't have done it without her. I couldn't have done it without therapy, talking to somebody through it. I really had to challenge my thoughts to learn how to live life and put one foot in front of another, because I was fearful of life. I was fearful to go outside in the dark. I mean, I couldn't do it. I couldn't run by myself anymore. I really had to talk myself out of it and challenge those thoughts in order to live life. So absolutely, absolutely. There were a lot of things that I had to put into place in order to put one foot in front of another. And the book talks about, there's a poem called Bits and Pieces. I don't know if you guys want to look at, I couldn't put the whole poem in, but I put parts of it in. It's people come in and out of your life for a reason. Some not so good, some for the better, but both make a difference in your life. I totally believe that. Yes, it took a lot of therapy and still touching base, because I want to be healthy enough to continue speaking. I went through all the nightmares, and people, I get that question frequent. Do you still have nightmares, triggers, things like that? Fortunately, I do not have nightmares anymore. I haven't had a nightmare in a really long time. Even before my assault, I would have nightmares, and I'm so grateful that I do not. And I think my faith has a lot to do with that. I'm just very trusting of God, and I pray every day and every night and every afternoon, just to get me through that. So I forgot where I was going with that, but it took a lot. It just took a lot of hard work, and to utilize the things that God put in place, to say. And us as females, I know we have Philip with us, but it's hard to accept help. It's hard to ask for help, right? And I really had to do that. I had to learn how to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
I know it was a God thing, but how did the detective know that you were in the car at the time? You said he took a right turn versus the left turn. How did he know you were there and said he's there to help you? I mean, it's a God thing, but how did he know that you were actually there at the time?
So when he took that right turn, when he drove down that back road, he saw two guys at the back of the restaurant. And when he saw the two guys, he thought, oh, they could be locking up, I'll just drive down, make sure they stay safe. Well, they took off running. And when they took off running, to my car that was parked in the wooded lot behind the restaurant. And he saw the light go on in the car. And when he saw that light, and they took off running, that's where he caught one of the guys. And that's when I kicked on the trunk of my car, and he heard that thump.
So they were in the process of robbing the place or whatever.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. I'm not scared of any questions, so if you have any.
Well, I do have something to say. I also experienced several traumatic incidents in my life, and I've gone through counseling ever since I was 13 years old. And for a long time, it was hard to be able to tell my story because the therapist seemed so shocked. Did you ever experience that?
I did not with my therapist. I can tell you that therapists aren't supposed to have that reaction. So I don't know if you were able to connect, but there's also, we're talking about connect. If you don't connect with that person, then it's hard to heal. It's hard to get through that because you're concentrating on non-connection with that person. So yeah, unfortunately, sorry that was your experience, and sorry you had those experiences, but I hope you were able to connect with somebody that could help you.
I did. The best counselor in the whole world is Jesus Christ. And
you're exactly right. Amen, sister.
And so what happened is that I began through that because I was thrown into so many different situations, being a foster child and going through the state with counselors that I began to actually counsel myself. And I am a strong warrior woman as I am today because of it. And there is
Oh,
hope.
There, yes. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Absolutely. I can tell by the smile on your face. Yeah,
Oh, I'm
that's
blessed,
awesome.
girl. I'm blessed to
Oh,
meet you.
thank you. Back at you. I feel the same.
Do you-
Yeah.
Did, excuse me, did everybody, and if anybody's got questions, go ahead. I think we got her for a few more minutes, don't we, Michelle?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Did everybody get a chance? If you have not checked out the website, I think you were saying the little vignette, was that the little 3-minute video that's on the website?
No, it is actually, I don't think that that's on the website, but on the website is, you can see Art talking on the website. And that's the video I would say to watch. That is the video that they showed for the Special Courage Award in Washington, DC.
Yes.
Yeah. And
So-
that's a beautiful video. They did a really nice job. And
It
you
is
can see
very
Art
nice.
there.
It's all
Yeah.
very nice. I was, trying my best at my level of professionalism to put it out there. And as Michelle said, when we started this call, before anybody else was on, she said the right people will be here. And that I definitely agree that that's the case. And we're just so thankful, Michelle. We would love to have you come back and when you can. I know you're a very popular lady now with the book coming out and everything. But if we can be a vehicle, a connection for you, that's exactly. And I will say, I don't want to take any credit for this at all, because one of the connections that our network has is a lady named Amy Shanklin, who could not be on the call today because she had something that she had done and this time was not carved out. But because of that connection, that's how we got connected to Michelle.
Yeah.
I truly think I've met Michelle maybe once, maybe years ago, if
Yeah.
ever. And I would have never, ever gone down that, I just would never have been led down that road. But it's the connections. And then when Michelle and I talked after, I was like, yeah, we got to have her on. We got to, connect with each other and put her on. So thank you for doing that.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And I'd like to just add on to that. You never know with life experiences what's going to happen out of them. And one thing I can tell you is, when I say life doesn't get any better than this, it really doesn't. I would not have the people in my life that are in my life. I have such enriching relationships and friendships, and that I would have never experienced if this wouldn't have happened. Not that I wanted this to happen,
Amen.
but there is so many more good things that have happened out of this than bad. My faith is stronger. I mean, just everything in my life is better.
Oh my
So,
gosh, what a
because
great
of it.
gift to have right before the holidays, everybody. You told
Yes.
me, Michelle, that came, and I have not read the book, but this, you said this came from the book. You have a co-author on the book,
Yeah.
right? And is this a quote? The things that go wrong for you, have a lot of potential to become the part of your gift to the world.
Yeah.
And I wrote that down when you and I were talking, and I'm like, yes, I do think
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to tell people in our network and everything. Is your story is your story,
Yeah.
Amen.
and you gotta step into. I feel so not worthy of sitting here talking about this, because my story is nothing compared to the story that you all have, but
We don't compare stories.
thank
They're
you.
all,
No.
yeah.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk.
Do you have a question?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, go
Oh,
ahead.
no.
Oh, okay. Well, it's more of a comment, but I am so glad you said that, because so I have autism spectrum disorder, and I've been through a lot because of it. I'm actually an aspiring author myself. I'm working I'm working on a few books about how, so one of them is about how I've improved as a college student. I'm at Ball State right now. And another one in the works is about how what about how I the story about my my junior year at Carmel High School and how I and how I got through like getting rejected by a crush. But I was gonna say it's nothing in comparison to your story. I mean, that's what happened to you is a lot more serious.
You know what? You are a superstar. Like, I love that you opened up and said that, because there are so many people that need to hear your voice. Really, you are amazing. And, you know, I am so proud of you, and even for sharing that with us. So you keep going and you write your story, because that is going to help a bazillion amount of people that needs to be heard. So I applaud you. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being on today.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Very sweet. Very nice. Thank you,
Yes.
Lauren, for sharing that. I'll take 1 second just to plug. We have a group that's called Success Connect that we started. It's kind of an offshoot of our network. And if you have any questions, we love, the idea is success to each of us is a little different. And success, actually, I looked it up in the dictionary or something, and it was like 20 different definitions. There's so many different things, but the word connect is what we're trying to all do. And Michelle, thank you so much for.
Would you guys mind if I just thought of this, would you mind if I took a picture that I could say we did this today? I mean, please tell me no, because I don't have to, but I like to social media stuff, you know?
I think
Anybody against?
do we have anybody know well enough? Amy, you do a lot of these. Nicole, do we have everybody in the picture? The problem that, okay, because the thing I did before was I didn't know that we had a second page, I think.
We have 20 people in the and 20 participants. So we had
Yay!
22.
We're all on one page.
We're on one page.
So
Yeah.
my thing is, Nicole is my integrator. Thank you, Melissa. Where's Wanda? Where's Susan? Where's Angie? We need your faces. Michelle wants to take a picture.
Well, they don't have to put their faces on. It's fine.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm telling them they have to, but they don't have to.
Anybody
yes,
who
you do.
is everybody good with it? Give me a,
Actually,
okay, or else,
I'm gonna
okay.
take one too. So bear with me for a second. Go ahead,
Awesome.
Michelle. You do yours first.
All right, smile, everybody. I'm gonna do one more. Awesome, thank you.
Okay, hold still, but I think we lost Wanda. I'm sorry, I think I scared her away. Oh, what a bummer. One more thing too, if you have not put your contact information into the chat, please do that. And it's not like I'm gonna bug you or anybody's gonna bug you, but I would like to share it with Michelle. Maybe that's something and also if you do know, oh, Wanda wants back. Good. So we got one more person jumping on, but I do like to follow up with an email so that you all have the information. And if you want to reach out to somebody that's on here, but Michelle, we thank you very much.
Oh my goodness, thank you all so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One more
Thank you.
God bless
smile,
you.
and everybody needs to smile. Let's see. Oh goodness. You are the token man, Philip. You know that? Yeah, that's okay. You're a good guy. I'll vouch for you. Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. I'm technically very challenged. Okay.
Yes.
Shush. All right. Smile, everybody. All right. There we go. Thank you very much. Michelle, are you looking for more opportunities to share your book?
Yes,
Good. So if anybody.
thank you all very much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
You did a great
everybody.
job.
Thank you.
very
I
much,
appreciate
everybody. Have a great afternoon, evening. Happy holidays. Let me know how I can help. We'll connect you however we can
Thank
help.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
God bless you guys.
Thank you. God bless you
you.
too.